Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release, Mr. Crocket. It's a Hulu exclusive, and it's coming to Hulu on Friday, October 11th. Yes, sometimes I get screeners from Hulu. I don't know how that ended up happening, but I'm happy to do it. So this one popped up, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll throw it out there. It's past embargo already. Embargo date was September 26th, so I can freely just throw this out. So I'm putting it out the same day I'm doing it, and I will say, I do recommend checking this one out when it hits Hulu, if you have Hulu. It's not going to be the best horror film of 2024. It's not even going to be in my top 10 or top 15 or top 20, really. But it's fun enough. It's a decent time. And I'll talk about it, obviously, in a no-spoiler way as I get into it more. Directed by Brandon Espy, who did The Block and Tinder Chick. Written by Espy and Carl Reid, who did Correctional Cuisine, Weird Waters, Grounded, and Mama. Again, Hulu exclusive coming Friday, October 11th. Synopsis of this one. So it's basically about this character named Mr. Crocket, who's basically a mix between Mr. Rogers and Bill Cosby from, I think it was called Picture Pages, which I did watch both of those shows when I was young. It's kind of like a mixture of those two characters, and he ends up mattering more than just teaching kids things on TV. Basically, you see it in the very first sequence of the film that's before the title card, where something happens with him kind of coming through the television and going after someone. So the basic setup is that it's a situation where he's there if kids are being treated terribly by their parents. And again, you see it, it's not really a spoiler because, again, you see that in a very first scene that happens in the film. And the very first scene is great. It's a great attention grabber. I love how it goes. But then it kind of goes forward in time, and it focuses on this mother and her child. She's recently become a single mom because her husband passed away, and she's struggling with parenting in general, struggling with him dealing with his feelings, with her dealing with her feelings. And then she finds this VHS tape for Mr. Crocket. And then it's horror. And you can guess kind of where things end up going with it, but it's kind of how do they do it and what way did they choose to take things in the very end. So it's definitely worth checking out. I think it's pretty solidly done. The Mr. Crocket show that they have in this is kind of believable, but it's also kind of ridiculous and a bit funny at the same time. And I think that kind of encapsulates the movie itself. There's some stuff that's very believable in this, like, you know, the struggles that parents are going through with raising their children and the struggles that children are going through with their parents. Then there's the ridiculous stuff, which is a lot of the antics of Mr. Crocket, and then the funny stuff, as in some of the gore, some of the kills, and a lot of the, there's some humorous moments where they're actually making some jokes. Typically Mr. Crocket. And that character is just, it's a pretty great mixture, that character, of just actually being kind of scary at times, but then at other times being very likable, and you're just like, oh yeah, they seem very harmless right now, but then they kind of like switch like that, and then it's just creepy scary again. Yeah, so really interesting character, I will say. I love the fact that, I love how Mr. Crocket is written, and I also love how Mr. Crocket is acted by Elvis Nolasco. Did a phenomenal job. And in general, the acting is quite good in this film. But Elvis Nolasco really stands out because Mr. Crocket is such a fun, interesting character, and Elvis Nolasco just does such a good job bringing life to that character. And it kind of seems like he really had fun playing that character, and I hope he did. There's some legitimately creepy stuff in this film. All I'm going to say, it's in the beginning of the film. Look for the portion with the VHS player, with the VCR. That's all I'm going to say. The VCR, legitimately creepy. But there are a few other moments in the film where there's some legitimately creepy stuff. Always happy to see that type of stuff. It has fun practical effects. I really enjoyed the practical effects. Some really good design. A lot of nice imagination to like take things that are kind of like very kid-oriented, but then put a really messed up kind of demented twist on them. So I love to see their practical effects there. Some CGI in this one, and sometimes the CGI is looking pretty solid, but there are also times where it's looking kind of wonky. So mixed bag on the CGI front, but the practical effects, nice. There's a great mix of humor and gore with the kills. There are some kills that I think they went pretty big on. The only issue with most of them is that there's not enough. Well, for me, it's not going to be this way for everyone, but for me there's not enough time spent on the kills. In the sense that it's kind of like a quick cut, like you see something that happens and then they kind of cut away relatively quickly. Now, a lot of times that can end up being because they don't want people to focus on the practical effects too much because they might start to look not that great. Maybe that was at play, but I don't know. It looked kind of good to me, so I wish they kind of would have like stayed with it a little bit more. But nonetheless, some fun, interesting, very gory kills, and I'm always down for that in horror films. They do a good job of making things with the main character actually feel very complicated. This goes to good character writing, which I'm always looking for in films. Although, let's be honest, in a lot of horror films, you end up with characters that are pretty basic, not very complicated. The mother in this film is just so, like, you feel for her at times, but then at other times you're kind of like judging her a little bit for how she's reacting to things and how she's dealing with stuff. But then you go right back to being like, yeah, but then I kind of understand this situation. I really feel what she's going through. So they did such a good job of writing that character and bringing it to life, or bringing her to life, so that you're just like, I get it. Like, I feel all these feelings that she's going through right now. So very effective. They do some flashbacks with animation, which I thought were really interesting, and it works really well because, well, first of all, I do like to see like animated sequences in films. I always think it's fun. But in addition to the animation looking good, they did it in kind of this way that it is still kind of creepy. So it's very like kind of nice and kid oriented, but then creepy at the same time. So love how they were kind of able to master that style for the film because it fits the film. The story feels like it does end up stagnating a decent amount. The beginning is really exhilarating. The end is a pretty decent time. The in between seems like they kind of lose their way a little bit, like they're trying to move forward but trying to figure out how to do that. So in the script maybe they were just kind of like, I'm not 100% sure how we're going to get from point A to point B. Let's just put some things in there and then we'll end up coming out on the end like where we were looking to be. So it just kind of feels like that. So the pacing isn't the best, but for the most part it's not terrible pacing. So at a few moments you're just kind of like, feel like we're losing our way here. But then they get it back, and then you get to your ending. Now, unfortunately, I do think the ending is quite drawn out for what it needed to be. This film probably could have been cut down. It's just a little over an hour and a half. And I think it needed to be cut down maybe about 15, 20 minutes, in my opinion. But, still, pacing's not too bad with it. But overall, I did enjoy watching the film. It's not one that I think I'm necessarily going to go back to. I do wish that they could have made the story with this Mr. Crocket character even better, because this is a great character, and I would be interested to see what they could do with another film with a even better script, because this could be a great iconic character. Really, really could. The original concept, the actor, all that stuff, it's there. They just need the right story to really raise this character up. But anyway, out of 5 stars, half stars, and play, I'm going to give it a pretty solid 3-star rating. I did enjoy it. Would love to hear from all of you. Any of you who've actually seen the film at this point, go ahead and put it in the comments. We can talk spoilers if you want to do that. Also, do me a favor and hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate that. You can do the thumbs up to give me help with the YouTube algorithm. You can hit the notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. And if you're interested in paying for a membership with my channel, you can go ahead and do that. There's a link in the description. You can see the details on that, just if you're interested. But anyway, thanks everyone for taking your time to watch this. Until next time, keep it brutal.